Nick Cassidy is an ex-cop and a got away from convict. We see him as he checks into the Roosevelt lodging under the name Joe Walker. The hotel valet leads him into his request room. He has a decent dinner. Furthermore, later, he cleans each trace of himself from the room. Aside from a solitary note, Nick opens the window and steps out on the edge of the hotel, where he will spend a couple of the most significant hours in his day-to-day life. To figure out why he's doing that, we need to return a month sooner. Nick was in jail and got his last appeal denied by the court. He should serve out the sum of his 25-year sentence. His ex-accomplice Mike Ackerman comes to visit him in jail to let him know that his dad is dead. He vows to get him daily outside so he can see him. Nonetheless, Nick just will go to his memorial service. Mike and his life partner express their sympathies to both Nick. Furthermore, his brother Joey, his brother's girlfriend Angie leaves them a second to talk in private. The brothers get into an argument and break into a fight that rapidly gets separated by Nick's guards, offering Nick adequate chance to take one of their guns. Once armed, he makes Joey to open his cuffs, weakens the guard's vehicle, and getaways in his brother's vehicle. A pursuit through the cemetery with the police ensues, which he manages effectively while changing on his clothes too. The pursuit leads them out to some train tracks where he slams his vehicle into a moving train and makes do to get away before the police can get to him. Nick gets to a refuge, where he finds everything he could require, left there by his associate. Back at the Roosevelt, the authorities are as of now mindful of the situation with Nick and they're closing down the block. Police and emergency vehicles show up at the site, alongside Detective Jack Doherty. He goes directly to the room and introduces himself to Nick, expressing he's there to help. Meanwhile, Detective Dante Marcus deals with the situation at the base of the hotel where people have previously gathered. Put into the scene, Doherty gives his best first effort to persuade Nick to return, yet Nick undermines him to get another negotiator or he'll bounce. The detective turns around in the room, met by Marcus, and they check Nick's last note, saying, "I will leave this world as I entered, innocent." They actually don't have any idea what his identity is and Marcus needs to print the room to figure out more about him. Doherty calls the negotiator Lydia Mercer and tells her that they have a jumper who has mentioned her particularly. Marcus' group is now investigating Nick, as yet imagining that he's Joe Walker. When Mercer gets to the hotel, Doherty tells her regarding the scene and tells her that he's going to jump shortly. Mercer gives the room a glance around, gets somewhat more info, and introduces herself to Nick in the latest moment possible. He tells her that all that will change for him today, somehow, and he wants her to comprehend that he's prepared. Incredible that Mercer is interested why he even brought her there, assuming that is the situation. To which he answers that since she's famous and he wants a group, Doherty has no faith in her and allows her 5 minutes to get her head in the game. Meantime, Mike is searching for Nick, totally unaware about the thing is really occurring. He believes there's a dubious thing about Nick's escape, so he tells his partner to take a look for anything surprising in the correspondence between the Cassidy brothers. We are acquainted with one more key part in Nick's life, David Englander, the owner of the Roosevelt Hotel. He's a frightful rich person with his hands on everything in the city and no interest in the prosperity of others. Doherty tells Mercer that they find no prints in the room. She wants to deceive Nick with a cigarette to get a print, however fails the first attempt. Mercer suggests that Nick isn't on the edge just to take his life, however to make some kind of articulation. She lets him know that, not at all like the group in the city. She really carefully, abruptly, Joey calls Nick to let him know that they showed up. Nick attempts to mess up with Mercer's head to get her away so he can talk to his brother without her knowing it. Joey and Angie are part of Nick's stir. The media gets in on the spectacle as well and they report on Mercer's contribution for the situation, hauling up the incident from a month prior when she was unable to persuade an officer not to hop from a bridge. She didn't mess with that incident. Doherty and Mercer are dubious about the needed information they have on Nick, so Doherty will attempt to find something and she can zero in on Nick. At the same time, he's talking to Joey while he and Angie are breaking into one of Englander's properties, simply on the opposite side of the hotel where Nick is standing. As the security system is being incapacitated for the night shift, Joey and Angie drill holes on the top of the spot, setting up an explosive gadget. They signal Nick and he raises a fuss to divert Mercer. What's more, the group down beneath as they actuate the explosive. Joey and Angie enter the property while Nick keeps on tricking Mercer. He requests a cigarette and she imparts her final remaining one to him. Nick knows a ton about Mercer's career and tells her that since they share a great deal, she doesn't believe that he needs to hop and he tells her not to abandon him. When she pulls back into the room, she hands the cigarette to an officer so they can get a print from it. Joey informs Nick that they've entered the building. Meanwhile, Mike returns to the station. Furthermore, finds out about the jumper, yet not what his identity is. Mercer offers one more opportunity at convincing Nick to return inside, when a news helicopter flies hazardously near them, nearly pushing Nick over the edge. Mike at long last sees it's him on the news channel. He gets a call about a storage unit in Joey's name. Joey and Angie lower down the deep opening in Englander's building. He deals with the surveillance cameras and they push toward Englander's vault room. Angie sees a sensor inside and they back up so they don't initiate it. Doherty, what's more, Mercer understands that Nick is hanging on for something and she wants him to accelerate his ID. Mercer returns out and asks Nick what's really happening. He gives her some easy chair brain psychology reply. She tries another methodology when Joey starts talking in his ear once more. Since Nick can't answer him directly, he involves his solutions to Mercer as pieces of information about what he and Angie ought to do about the sensor. Joey doesn't grasp him. Yet Angie realizes what Nick is attempting to say. She says that it's an intensity sensor and they need to chill it off. They utilize a fire extinguisher to deal with the sensor. Nick lets Mercer know that he realizes she pulled a print of his cigarette and is going to figure out what his identity is. All the while, Mike goes to Joey's storage unit and sees Nick's, Joe Walker's, and his own record in a bureau. Marcus gets Nick's prints back and calls Mercer. He tells her what Nick's identity is and that he was in jail for taking Englander's $40 million Monarch diamond. Marcus likewise tells her that he's the owner of the hotel. With an office there and a diamonds traders across the road, Mercer and Doherty understand that Nick is planned to is innocent. She figures out that Mike was his accomplice and calls him explaining the situation as he's burning the documents he found in storage. Marcus calls Englander's security and tell them to check the vault. All the while, Joey and Angie are just outside the vault. Attempting to get in, Mercer faces Nick and requests him what the whole purpose from his trick is. Nick tells her to send a team to the diamond traders, sending Joey into a frenzy since they aren't done there yet. He demands that he's innocent and needs Mercer's assistance since Englander had set him to stealing the diamond. She doesn't trust him. Then, Nick says that this is his retrial and impels the group beneath to concur with him. At the same time, Englander's security is being accompanied by the police toward the other building. Nick enlightens Joey and he asks that he delay to stow away. Unexpectedly, Nick starts throwing Cash the edge, and the crowd runs the road, blocking the way for the police and the security to get to the entry of the trade. Angie sets up a camera to get the password when the security guy enters it, while Joey finds them a concealing spot. The security and the cops get inside the building and come up, similarly as Angie and Joey get inside the concealing spot. At the same time, Marcus talks to Englander about Nick. Englander is pissed about the situation and thinks that not in coincidence Nick picked the same day as his main press conference about another building property to play out his trick. Marcus says that he shouldn't stress, however gets compromised that his life would be ruined in the event that he doesn't fix what is happening. Back at the trade, the security guard takes the police inside the vault room. Entering the code, he explains all the security measures to the officers which are sufficient to convince them that nobody can break in. Then he informs Marcus about it. Marcus goes to the hotel and allows Mercer 15 minutes to get Nick off the edge or is sending in the tactical team. Meantime, Mike is speeding toward the hotel. Joey and Angie escape stowing away and return to the vault room. Mercer lets Nick know that Tactical will come after him if he doesn't get down, so he informs her concerning what happened when the diamond was taken. Clearly, the diamond was taken by Englander's men, who bounced Nick when he was transporting it. Englander was drawing nearer to being bankrupt. Yet rather than selling the diamond and confessing to that, he got insurance for it. Mercer needs to trust him yet falters when Nick tells her that Englander's hooligans were most likely police. She goes to research his story when Mike shows up at the hotel. He checks in with Marcus before he goes up. A cop gets a few documents they found in Nick's cell and Mike offers to take them to the room. Mercer voices her doubts about Nick's culpability to Doherty. However, he's almost certain that he got it done. She gets some information about it as well and tells him that Nick was helping out in her affairs about another case including a cop called Joe Walker. She believes that it's associated with Nick's case, yet Marcus denies it. When Mercer tells him that Nice won't bounce, he arranges the strategic group to get into position. Meantime, the group and the media all have various feelings about Nick's assumed guilt. Mike investigates the records from Nick's cell and eliminates a couple of them before he gets into the room and gives the rest to Doherty. Mercer questions him about Englander. However, he says that he didn't have anything to do with him. She's dubious of Mike as well and isn't allowing him to get close to Nick despite the fact that he insisted that they're friends. Simultaneously, Angie creeps through a vent to get into the vault room. When she gets inside, the main thing she wants to do is disarm the security system and she really wants Nick's assistance for that. Mercer gets back to him into the room once more, yet Nick requests that she get him some additional time. Doherty finds bomb schematics in the archives. At the same time, Nick lets Angie know how she can short-circuit the main processor to disarm the sensors. She has a snapshot of uncertainty on which wire to cut, however gets the right one at last. Angie utilizes the wire to broil the processor and turns off the sensors. Joey opens the vault room door, then drills through the actual vault to open it. The tactical team is getting into position and Mercer inquires as to whether there truly is a bomb. Doherty tells her that she wants to clear the window. She contends with him and Marcus about what they ought to do. However, since not even one of them need to pay attention to her, she steps on the edge close to Nick. Angie and Joey break into the vault at last and open it up to uncover Englander's wealth. They have their sights on just something single, however, the Monarch diamond. While they search through the vault, Mercer and Nick stand one next to the other on the edge. Tragically, they don't find the diamond also. When they call Nick to inform him, Mercer sees him discussing with Joey. Nick tells her what his plan was. Since the diamond isn't in the vault, Joey needs to change to plan B. They actuate the alarms to distract the police and the security. Englander goes to investigate the vault and tells his guard to keep the police out while he checks the real safe where he keeps the monarch. He's assuaged to find it there and chooses to take it with him. Mercer returns into the room and inquires to talk with IA. Mike returns and hauls Doherty out of the room, locking him out so he can address Nick alone. He gets back to him saying he can help. Nick lets Mike know that they're discussing with IA, which makes Mike apprehensive, and he reaches to grab him. Simultaneously, Marcus orders tactical team to get Nick and 2 agents to drop down. Nick figures out how to get away from them and hops from one edge then onto the next. Until he gets back inside the hotel, the team gets rowdy when they see what's happening. Marcus, what's more, tactically make a search for Nick as he goes through the hotel. Meantime, Englander returns to his office and finds Joey and Angie hanging on for him there. Joey searches him and finds the diamond. They make him cuff himself to the safe in his office and leave with the diamond. When they get to gathering, they give the valet a bag asking him to hold it. The man takes the diamond out and put off. Englander gets to a telephone and tells Marcus that Joey has the diamond. Then Marcus lets Tactics know that Nick has a bomb trigger and they need to bring him down. Mercer is looking for Mike and Nick through the hotel when she gets a call back from IA. The agent tells her that they have proof on Mike and Marcus. Nick is being pursued by the tactical team. He runs into the valet who gives him his coat with the diamond, then shows the officers in the other heading. They make up to Nick, who steps out on the edge once more and moves up the hotel. Meantime, Marcus finds Joey and Angie and he torments them for info about the diamond. Nick gets to the rooftop simultaneously as Mercer and his tactical. He gets kneeling down when Marcus shows up and captures Mercer for hindrance. Marcus orders the tactical team to withdraw so he can stay alone with Nick. When they leave, Englander gets Joey up on the rooftop and compromises Nick that he'll kill Joey if he doesn't give him the diamond. Nick returns the diamond, yet Englander actually tells Marcus to kill them. Mercer escapes her restrictions and promptly goes to the rooftop. Marcus tells Nick to leap off the rooftop or he'll toss his brother off. Unexpectedly, Mike appears and kills him. However, he is shot as well. He is sorry to Nick for setting him up as Marcus is prepared to kill them both. Mercer shows up in time and kills him. Joey brings over to Nick that Englander is getting away. With nothing left to lose, Nick leaps off the rooftop and luckily arrives on the pneumatic bed. The police set up before. He pursues Englander and goes up against him before the group. Nick runs over to him and wrecks him so he can get the diamond. When it's in his grasp, he shows it to the crowd who cheer in support of himself. Afterward, Mercer gets Nick from jail and they go to a bar where everybody is glad to see him. His dad, who was alive and helping him the whole time, is the most joyful. In the last minutes, Joey asks that Angie wed her with a ring he took from Englander. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.